Harry Chapin, the late Harry Chapin, wrote a wonderful song, maybe his most famous one, and it was called The Cat's in the Cradle. And probably you're familiar with it, whether you've heard it directly or heard about it. It talks about the progression of a relationship where the parent never has enough time for the kid, and then the kid becomes a parent and says to the parent, to now the aging parent, "I'm sorry, but I just don't have enough time to be there for you either." So it's clearly a full circle song, but also maybe it's reflective of something that is a reality in so many of our busy lives. And all of us have busy lives, whether we're actively working or retired. Our answer to the question, how are you, is often, maybe too often, so busy. There's a story of a young woman, we'll call her an attorney, and she's so brilliant and she's so busy. And her aging father reaches out to her and says, "When am I going to see you?" And whenever he calls, she always says, "I'd love to see you, Dad, but I've got so much client work. You should see the stack on my desk every day." And he gets older and older, and he calls and says, "Well, sweetheart, when am I going to see you?" And the answer is always the same. And on one particular call, he says to her, "Sweetheart, I have a question to ask you." And she says, "Dad, if it's, am I going to see you? I just want you to know I'm so busy." He says, "No, it's not that." He says, "Are you going to come to my funeral?" And the daughter's outraged. She says, "How could you ask me a question like that, Dad? Of course I'll be there at your funeral." And the dad says, "Forget the funeral. I need you now." It's a powerful and touching joke, a story that doesn't have that much humor in it because it's too touching. It's too close to the heart for any of us living in relationship with people whom we love. We have to make time for each other now rather than put it off for the end of our days or even later days. All of us have a need that's unrealized by the other in our lives. We think the person just wants our time, but they want intimacy. They want closeness. They want somebody to listen to their story at this moment, not their story in 10 days. It's going to change. So when somebody reaches out to you, particularly now, in this final month of the Jewish year, which is Elul, a month that the rabbis say is dedicated to intimacy with the heavens, with God, who, as the rabbis say, is in a place of intimacy with us. In other words, in the field. God is close to us, just asking for us to reach out. But also the other relationships that are more concrete in your lives. Family, friends, even colleagues. Try and make time now. This month is dedicated to intimacy, to closeness, to listening, and to presence.